you mentioned critical incident teams, and we talked about corruption. Tell me what those teams did, and what is happening now. I know you're involved in a particular case.
Well, critical incident teams, they have, at least in San Diego, the first one started in 1987, so that was before I came. Basically, the gist of Border Patrol enforcement is that Border Patrol agents do not have the authority to investigate themselves for use of force incidents.
Mhm.
So the Border Patrol didn't have its own internal affairs. And that is because Border Patrol authority is limited to 3 titles in United States Code, in legal code, which is immigration, narcotics, and customs issues.
Mhm.
So Border Patrol agents aren't allowed to investigate homicides. They're not allowed to investigate rapes. They're not, can they stop somebody from killing somebody? Yes, just like an ordinary citizen can. But that's not within their wheelhouse of their legal authority. And what the SET teams were started for or what they claim they were started for, was a liaison between local sheriffs and police departments, the FBI, and the Office of Inspector General, or other internal affairs federal agencies that would be investigating Border Patrol agents for use of force. So if I shot somebody and I said they threw a rock at me, the Border Patrol can't come out and investigate its own agents. They have to call either local authorities, and they also have to call federal authorities by law. And what they started here in San Diego was these SET teams, where they picked specific agents and they had them go out, and they were the first to respond to incidences in most cases. And they would hold the scene for sometimes as long as days before notifying anybody. So they're getting their evidence together, they're getting their story straight, they're making sure the rocking looks really bad. And I'm not saying that all rockings are I'm not saying that, but in a lot of cases. And the specific case you're referring to is a 2010 Anastasio Hernandez Rojas case. This man was beaten to death by Border Patrol agents, CBP agents, and 2 ICE agents down at the San Ysidro port of entry here in San Diego, and it was caught on film. Border Patrol at the time said he wasn't handcuffed, but he was handcuffed behind his back, laying in the fetal position, and they beat him and they tased him to death. They claimed he jumped through the air and all this other stuff, and they lied. And what the SIT team did is they had the scene under former Chief Rodney Scott. They had the scene for 15 hours. They never even notified San Diego PD. It was media that notified San Diego PD. The Border Patrol SET team managed to get rid of the video evidence at the port. Luckily, there was other video evidence that people had gotten on their cell phones.
I do remember this. It was
horrifying. Horrible. A
Yeah.
father of 5, had lived in San Diego off and on for 25 years, had a wife, and suddenly he's gone. And all of this was caused because Anastasio had been kicked by an agent when he was searching him. So you know how in the movies when they kick your feet out to separate your legs, when they say, we're going to search you, and they kick your ankles out so they can search your leg. Well, Anastasio had a pin in his leg from a prior surgery, and it hurt, and he damaged it. And Anastasio was demanding that the Border Patrol take him to a doctor in the United States, because he knew if he didn't do that, it would never be fixed. And being that he was undocumented and poor, he would probably not be able to work. He has a family of 5 to feed and a wife and this and that. And because he demanded his civil rights to see a doctor within the United States and file a complaint against this agent who hurt him, they said no, and they took him down to the port of entry and told him to go across, and he said, no, I need to go to the doctor. And so they taught him a lesson, is what they did to that man. And so these SET teams, from the very moment, are messing with the evidence. They give CBP gives out orders over the radio. They look up and they see people videoing who happen to be going across, the Mexican border back and forth.
Yeah.
And they say, go get those pictures and erase them and delete the videos and get rid of all the witnesses. And by the time San Diego PD ends up on the scene, almost everything's gone. And then the set team is the one that sits in on every single interview of any witnesses and Border Patrol agents.
And
so they're
this is-
sitting in while the
Yeah.
investigation is happening, and they're the ones that committed the crime. They know what the investigation has on them. And so then, and they're calling back and forth. They have affidavits calling from people in OIG, people in CBP, internal affairs back in the day that said, yeah, we knew within hours what was going on. So they use the SIT teams not just to get rid of evidence, but to get a game plan for how to deal with the press.
So and these teams are, yeah, and these teams are under what? Are they under DHS? Are they separate? What is, they're secretive, we're unclear where funding, and they're federal agents.
The Congress doesn't even know they exist. Congress doesn't know they exist. I know some Border Patrol agents who've served 20 years, and they are more of the agents who don't like to, we call them station rats. So they like to do processing and stuff. They don't like to go out and get into shootings or get into fights and stuff. So they don't have experience of dealing with these teams. So I've known Border Patrol agents with 20 years in that don't know what they are. That's how secretive they are. The only government document I found online was the 2010 use of force manual that the attorneys for the Anastasio family got made public. And in that use of force manual, it says the first thing you do is you call these CIT teams, CIT teams, and you tell them before you tell anybody, call anybody else. Number one, that's against the law. And so when they got that released, they got what's called a PERF report, which is made up of high-ranking former law enforcement officials, professionals, degree professionals that come together as a retired group of probably mostly white men, and they evaluate things like the Border Patrol and stuff like that. And they evaluated this use of force manual that the Border Patrol was using at the time they killed Anastasio. And they said, what is this SIT team? You need to tell us what that is. We're not sure what it is or if it has the authority. Well, when the Border Patrol released the new use of force manual, it got rid of the mention of SIT teams. There's no mention of SIT teams. Nobody knows they exist, except, this is what kills me most of all, is the local sheriff's police departments, the FBI, OIG, the U.S. Attorney's Office, even the courts know that these units exist, but nobody's ever said, where's your authority to conduct these investigations? Police departments have to be given legal authority to investigate. Border Patrol has legal authority to investigate immigration, customs issues, and narcotics.
Yeah.
Where's your authority to do internal affairs investigations into use of force? They simply do not have it. And so everything that they have done since 1987, at least in San Diego sector, is illegal. Everything. Every single incident of death, every car wreck that they have been to has been done illegally.
What's going on, Frantifa? If you haven't already, subscribe to this channel right now. Hit that button. And also, you can become a patron and support the show every single week. Get access to bonus episodes and exclusive merchandise. Patreon.com/bitchuation room. Do it.